What if you've spent years confusing what you feel with who you are? What if the words you regret, the reactions you wish you could take back, and the conversations that keep replaying in your head aren't actually showing you who you are? What if they're showing you something else entirely? Hey everyone, and welcome back to Real Life English Talk. I'm Julia, here with Alex.
Hey everyone, great to be here.
Today we're starting a brand new series about emotional intelligence.
And when people hear emotional intelligence, they usually think about staying calm, controlling emotions, or being good with people.
But emotional intelligence actually starts much earlier than that. It starts in those few seconds between what happens and how you respond.
Those few seconds can change a conversation, a relationship, a decision, sometimes even an entire day.
So in this episode, we're exploring one simple but powerful idea. You are not your emotions.
And if you've ever said something you didn't mean, stayed silent when you wanted to speak, or wondered why you keep reacting the same way in certain situations, this episode is for you.
And stay with us until the end, because we'll also break down useful English vocabulary and expressions you can use in real-life conversations. Alex, what's the fastest you've ever regretted something you said?
Probably about 2 seconds after saying it.
2 seconds? That's pretty fast.
Seriously, though, the words came out, and immediately I thought, well, that was a mistake.
I think most people know that feeling. You react. You send the message, you make the comment, you raise your voice, and then, almost instantly, a different part of you shows up and says, "Why did I do that?"
That's the strange part, isn't it? If that reaction was really you, then who is the person regretting it 5 minutes later?
Exactly. Because most of us assume our strongest emotion is showing us who we really are. When we're angry, we think, "This is the real me." When we're anxious, we think, "This is the real me."
But emotional intelligence starts when you question that assumption.
Maybe your emotions are real without being your identity.
So what's actually happening in those moments?
Well, let me ask you something. Have you ever said, "I am angry"?
Of course.
Most of us say that. But what if there's a big difference between "I am angry" and "I feel angry"?
That sounds small, but it changes the meaning completely.
Exactly. One turns the emotion into your identity. The other recognizes it as an experience.
So instead of becoming the emotion, you're observing the emotion.
Right. And that's one of the first shifts in emotional intelligence. You stop saying, "This is who I am," and start noticing, "This is what I'm experiencing right now."
That's powerful, because emotions can last minutes, sometimes hours, but we often build entire identities around them.
Exactly. A reaction is a moment. An emotion is a state. Neither one is your identity.
So emotions are kind of like automatic behavior triggers?
Yes. But let's make it real. Imagine this. You've had a long day, you're tired, your energy is low. Someone asks you something simple, and your response comes out sharper than you intended.
That happens a lot, actually.
And in that moment, you don't think, "I am tired." You think, "I am annoyed."
Right. It feels like that is you.
Exactly. And then later, everything changes. You're rested. You're calm. You replay the same moment, and you think, "That wasn't me."
So which one is the real version of me?
That's the wrong question. Because both versions are real. But neither is complete.
What do you mean?
The tired version of you is real. The calm version of you is real. But neither one defines you fully.
So we keep confusing states with identity.
Exactly. And the moment you believe one emotional state is who you are, you stop seeing yourself clearly.
That actually feels freeing. So if emotions aren't identity, why do so many people feel trapped by them?
Because emotions don't just affect how we feel, they affect the stories we tell about ourselves.
What do you mean?
Imagine you get nervous during a presentation. The emotion itself isn't the problem. The problem starts when you leave that experience and tell yourself, I'm just bad at public speaking.
So the feeling ends, but the story stays.
Exactly. Or maybe you have one difficult conversation. You get emotional, you don't communicate well, and afterwards you decide, I'm just a difficult person.
So we're not only reacting to life, we're creating explanations about who we are.
Yes. And those explanations can become surprisingly powerful.
Because once I believe I'm quote unquote bad at public speaking, I'm more likely to avoid it next time.
Exactly. And then the story feels even more true.
Wow. So one emotional moment can become a long-term belief.
That's why emotional intelligence isn't only noticing your emotions, it's noticing the stories your emotions are trying to write.
Have you ever caught yourself believing one of those stories about yourself?
Oh, definitely. I remember having a disagreement with a close friend a few years ago. Nothing dramatic, but it was one of those conversations that stayed in my head long after it ended.
Those are often the hardest conversations to let go of.
Totally. After the conversation, I felt frustrated and misunderstood. And because I was emotional, I started doing what many people do. I started typing messages.
Ah, yes, the dangerous combination of strong emotions and a phone.
Totally. And while I was typing, I remember thinking, this is just who I am. I'm too emotional. I always react too strongly. At the time, those thoughts felt completely true.
That's the interesting part, right? Because you weren't only feeling emotions, you were also creating a story about yourself.
Yeah, and here's the strange part. A few hours later, nothing had changed. The conversation was the same. The facts were the same. But my emotional state was completely different.
Which means the story changed too.
Exactly. A few hours earlier, I was thinking, I'm an emotional person. Later, I was thinking, maybe we're both just upset right now.
It's a huge shift. One explanation makes the problem part of your identity. The other treats it as a temporary situation.
Yes. And that's when I realized something important. Sometimes we're not suffering because of the emotion itself. We're suffering because of the story we've attached to that emotion.
Wow. And a difficult moment is something you can move through. An identity feels permanent. So, after everything we've talked about, what is emotional intelligence actually helping us do?
I think it's helping us notice something most people miss:
What's that?
the space between an emotion and a reaction.
The space?
Yes, most of us experience an emotion and immediately act on it. We feel angry, so we send the message. We feel hurt, so we withdraw. We feel anxious, so we avoid the situation. The emotion becomes the action.
That's true. It often feels automatic.
Exactly. But emotionally intelligent people don't necessarily feel fewer emotions. They just create a small pause before acting on them.
So, the goal isn't to stop feeling angry, anxious, frustrated, or hurt.
No. The goal is to remember that feeling something and acting on it are two different things.
I like that because it feels realistic. We're all going to experience difficult emotions.
Exactly. Emotional intelligence isn't about controlling every emotion. It's about creating enough space to choose your response instead of being controlled by your first reaction.
So, if I had to summarize everything we've discussed today, it would be this: emotions are automatic, but reactions don't have to be.
That's a great way to put it. And that small difference can completely change a conversation, a relationship, or even the story you tell yourself about who you are.
So, what do we actually do in real life when this happens?
There's one simple question I try to use in those moments.
What is it?
Before I say something, send a message, or react immediately, I ask myself, Is this how I want to act right now?
That sounds simple, but also very difficult in the moment.
It is difficult because emotions are fast. But the question doesn't need to change your feeling. It just interrupts your reaction.
So it's not about calming down first. It's about creating a pause first.
Exactly. And in that pause, something important happens. You stop being fully inside the emotion, and you start noticing it.
And that small distance changes everything.
Yes, because sometimes you still choose to act on the emotion, but now it's a choice, not an automatic reaction.
And that's the difference we've been talking about the whole episode.
Exactly. Emotional intelligence isn't about having different emotions. It's about having a moment of choice between emotion and action.
Before we finish, let's quickly go through some key expressions from today.
First, to react too quickly. This means responding immediately without thinking, usually based on emotion. For example, saying something in anger and regretting it right after.
Next, to take something personally. This means interpreting a situation as being about you, even when it might not be. For example, if someone is in a bad mood and you think it's because of you.
Third, to regret something. This means to feel sorry about something you said or did after it happened. It often comes when your emotional state changes and you see the situation differently.
And one we used a lot in this episode, a reaction. A reaction is an immediate emotional response to something. It is often fast, automatic, and not fully thought through.
And finally, a state. A state is your temporary condition, like being tired, angry, calm, or anxious. It changes over time and is not permanent.
So the key difference from today, emotions are states, not identity.
Exactly. And understanding these words helps you describe your real-life experiences more clearly in English.
So remember, you are not your emotional reactions.
You are the person who experiences them.
And that small difference changes everything in relationships.
Next episode, we'll talk about why you take things personally.
That one hits deep.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.